So we're going to open the meeting.
Yeah,
Good?
go ahead.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Seneca County Board of Commissioners. Today's June 20th, 2024. It's 10 a.m. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll open with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone like the prayer? You can do it?
Good? Okay, let me do it?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right, very good. I felt it. Got it. All right. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, please bless us with your oversight as we are upon the heat of the summer and keep everyone safe and cool. Also, bless those who were affected by the storm a few days ago down towards Marion and stuff on that. A large farm family lost a lot of equipment in the building and stuff. And pray for our farmers as we are in need of rain for our crops, and hopefully it will not wither with the heat. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Good. Roll call.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Here.
Commissioner Schuck,
Here.
Commissioner Franker.
Here.
I will accept a motion to approve the digital audio recordings of the previous board session from Thursday, June 13th, 2024.
So move. Second.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Franker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso.
Yes. So we are on schedule first is a bid opening. At this point, we don't have it, right? Any?
We don't know.
We don't know?
This is-
No, we do know.
Okay.
Bids closed at 10 o'clock.
I
Okay,
need a sign-in sheet.
so.
There were no bids that came in.
So there's no bids that came in, the bids closed at 10?
The bids closed at 10.
Fair enough,
Um,
so now what?
A little bit of feedback that we got from contractors we talked to is that they saw it. They were just too busy to fit a bid into their schedule. So we'll have to meet and talk about next steps for either every bid or talking to some local contractors to see a better bidding window for them.
Okay, good with that, Barb? Sure.
Yep.
Are we okay within the deadlines of the grant and everything?
Probably not, but it's not a grant, it's actually the money that was left over at the end of last year. They wanted to see it done within a 6-month time window from when they gave us the money. They knew that the process that we had to go through, so I guess we gotta live within who can do it and when they can do it. So
Okay.
I'll get back a hold of them.
What was the estimate on it, or like ballpark figure?
271, 200 was the estimate.
Okay. So we're complete the formal sign-in,
Yep.
because this was a formal bid opening. And Michael, anything else from you regarding the bid process?
Nothing else from me now.
Okay, while you're here, any updates on anything? You good?
I'm good. Unless you want updates on EMS and we got out there.
You might as well, if
Those jobs are
that's
going well.
okay, Sheriff, we good with that?
I'm fine.
Sure, so we have RCM, Michael Work here, our architecture firm that we use here in the county, and go ahead. We have open projects with you, right?
Yep, just a couple updates on some open projects. EMS Station number 1, which is Bloom Township EMS station. Construction is complete with a few punch list items remaining. They're putting in some final touches on the flooring, and that'll be on schedule to move in here end of this month and into July. The second station, which is in New Regal, building shell is complete, it's enclosed with a roof. They're starting interior framing this week, and construction is on schedule.
Great. Barb, anything else to add? No, for construction-wise? Sheriff, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for letting me come give the 2023 annual report. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to provide what our office does for the residents of Seneca County. I've already started going around the townships, giving them just the snippets of it, the township reports. And those are included in here, but we won't go over those today as well. Been given a pretty good timeline, so I'm going to try to stick to it as best I can. So we're going to power through these. I've handed out some handouts, but as of right now, you can go on our website, go to the annual reports, and you'll see all the last 3 years' work, 2021, 2022, and even this one is up there as of today, 2023. So if you want to follow along at home, you can do that. And each of the commissioners have a report in front of them. And in the audience, I've done some selected stats as well. So as we go through each of the pages,
I just want to make sure guys behind you, sure, sorry. Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
Keep going.
as we go through each of the pages, I'll explain just not everything on the page, but I'll pick out some things for you to keep within that 20 or so minute timeline so you can ask questions as well. So obviously, you know, you have the table of contents, shows you what each page, everything is on. The next page is my message to the citizens. We did start in 1824, the same time as the county, so we are currently this year, not 2023, but this year, in our 200th year of operation as the sheriff's office. And to commemorate that, we're wearing these memorial badges I have on my uniform. And each of the sworn officers have one of those. The rest of the next couple pages is about myself. I still run into people that don't even know who I am or my education level or experience or anything, so I think it's important to throw that in there to let you know who your sheriff is and what my credentials are. The next page is the command staff, myself, Chief Deputy Boyer, the Enforcement Division Commander, Captain Hesh, the Corrections Commander, Division Commander, Lieutenant Cunningham. Next page is our administrative staff. Their titles don't do them justice. These four ladies do the bulk of the behind-the-scenes work at the sheriff's office, and there's underneath of their titles is a lot of other, probably 6 or 7 other job stuff that they do between jail purchase orders, road purchase orders, web checks, evidence room, billing, medical billing, records, expungements, stats, new hires, trainings, training files, all that stuff is under each one. Each one is a backup to another person, so that if somebody's on vacation or sick, that doesn't go unattended for weeks or days or anything like that. Next page is very important. This is our mission, vision, and core values. I'm very proud to say in 2021, when we came into office, we got together somebody from each of the divisions, whether it was a maintenance worker or the dispatch, road, corrections, and everybody had a say in making these. And it was a collaborative effort on our mission statement. And I'd like to just read it, just to reinforce what we have been doing for the last 3.5 years. It is the mission of the Seneca County Sheriff's Office to provide professional law enforcement, dispatch, correctional, and court services for our community. Through these efforts, we protect and preserve the peace with fairness and compassion. So I hope to show through these statistics today and through anecdotal stories of each of the stuff that we're going to talk about, how we're fulfilling that mission statement, which was by our staff that selected that mission statement. Next one is important because that's our organizational chart. It shows everybody who the workflow goes through, what each department is responsible under each division. It was important when I came in to have these delineations of who's responsible for what, because the buck stops with me, and then I report to the citizens of Seneca County, as you can see the box above myself. So I have to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing and who reports to who. So if you ever wondered where the reserves fall under, or the volunteers, or who's handling evidence or whatever, it's right here on this handy dandy organizational chart. Next page is your past sheriffs, all the way from 1824 to present. If you ever have an interest of seeing who was the sheriff back in the first sheriff, the middle sheriffs, you know, in the 1900s or whatever, it's all there historical. And then if you have a even stronger urge to what the sheriff's title is and what they do, that's the next page, which is the history of the sheriff. Kind of explains where it came from and how we brought it with us when we came over from England, and its derivation of the name sheriff and stuff. Now we get into the meat of the actual report, and that's the divisions. So the first division, and they're in no particular order, is the administrative division, although I guess that starts with A, so maybe that is why it's first. But administrative division is comprised of the people I just talked about, and with the command staff, and then the ladies, the clerks that work up there, and each of their job skills that they do. They're responsible for records management, they're responsible for the civil processes, the financial functions, human resources, to an extent that we do in our office. I know the county, we have the HR to rely on as well, but there's certain things that we do within our agency as well. And some of those stats, especially like on the civil papers that are received, we did 1,835 papers that we received from the courts. In civil, that's not warrants, those are strictly just civil processes. So whether it's a probation order, probate order, it's a subpoena from the court or from an attorney, could be in county or out of county, we are required as the county agency, the sheriff's office, to go out and attempt to serve those as best that we can, multiple times sometimes, because sometimes the person's working, they've moved, so we've got to do our due diligence and try to follow up and figure out where they moved to. Again, prior to getting onto the record here, we were talking about your incident, and it's good that we're in a small rural community, because usually somebody knows somebody that knows somebody, and we can track those people down. So out of those 1,835 processes that we received, we were able to serve 1,646 of them. And we returned 177. For whatever reason, they moved out of the county or the state, or they can't be found, or they were recalled. Sometimes they get recalled before we serve them as well. Or the trial happens and we didn't get a subpoena out in time. Another stat that I just started keeping this year was the miles traveled, to show you like why we need the vehicles and the maintenance of the vehicles, and the gas mileage budget is we traveled 59,329 miles just to serve paperwork last year.
That's more than I
So,
would have thought.
yeah, and it's more than I thought. That's why I think it's a good stat to show the public and the commissioners and the administrator, why the maintenance of the vehicles and the fuel mileage and stuff. And that's just to serve these papers. That's not our regular patrolling or handling calls or anything. That's just for serving papers. Expungements, 78 of those are when people request minor crimes and stuff to be expunged. After a certain amount of time, they go through the courts and they get those expunged. So that takes time though, because the record clerks, we have to meticulously make sure that their name is not in our system anymore for that report. And if it's a 30-page report, they gotta go through and redact their name out of that whole report and stuff. So it does take some manpower and man-hours to do that. Public records requests have increased again for the third year in a row. We're up over 2,000 as of last year, 2018. And those are everything from your crash accidents that they're being requested daily. But it also could be something as simple as, we just got one, it's not on 2023, but it's indicative of kind of some of the times we get these weird requests. This one was a person requesting a form that may or may not have been pulled in February 18th of 1942. It was a P-39 Army plane that crashed on what is now County Road 39, used to be Matthias Road, I believe, the Henry Kingsing Farm. So we have our records people checking the microfiches, which weren't efficiently cataloged back in the day. So this has probably been a couple weeks that, when they have time, can go up in the attic and look through. And the boxes are in no type of organization because they've been moved around since 1942. And there may or may not even be a record. So we may have wasted our time looking for it, but we still have to do our due diligence and look through this stuff. This is kind of an anomaly. We don't get something that old, but we do get stuff from, hey, do you have my house fire from the 1990s? The insurance company is asking for another report or something like that. So we'll get requests like that as well. But you can see that also takes man hours and man time to fulfill those records requests, which we're required to do by the Ohio Sunshine Laws. And some of those public records requests include body cam or any other phone records or anything like that. So we have to put those packets together.
Do you have to keep them forever then, or is it?
Yes, on the public records requests, or the forms that we pull, like this one, if there was a form pulled back there, it should have been kept permanently forever. And that's why it's important with our records management system that we have now, that dates back to 2012, those are permanently now because they're saved electronically. The ones prior, the microfiche stuff or whatever, did they get damaged because of heat or cold? Were they not stored correctly? And then that's not our fault, but it still doesn't look good if somebody, asks for a report from last year and you can't find it, So obviously something that's 80 years old, good luck. I don't know if we're gonna be able to find that. And that's an if they even pulled a form back then for that. They could have just turned it over to the state or the military and didn't do any report on it at all, or just a comment in the log back then. They might not even type a report on it in the 40s, so. And just some other things, obviously, our evidence room continues to process materials through there, so that shows you 549 items that came through the evidence room. 29 CCW licenses were issued. They're low because of the Ohio law change that happened last year. But there's still 29 people that say, hey, I might want to travel outside of Ohio. Matter of fact, I just got a Facebook message 2 days ago asking that same question of the sheriff's office of, hey, I'm going to be going to Michigan. Am I allowed to carry my gun there if I don't have a CCW? Absolutely not. You know, you will bind yourself up into some serious trouble. Now, if you get a CCW and they're reciprocal, then you're fine. You're okay. So people got to check that before they travel outside of the state of Ohio. And I think that's why our renewals are up 306, because people are just renewing their license that they already got so that they can travel and carry concealed. Web checks are 111. Those are the ones that come in because they need a state requirement for their teaching job or another job that requires them to get their fingerprints and checked through the state. Our sex offender registration will cover over the detective stats. Prisoner transports will cover in corrections, and then the sheriff's sales that are received, sold, and that are returned are down there as well. So that is part of the administrative division. The biggest division, markedly so, out at the sheriff's office is the corrections division. They have the most manpower and they have the most divisions within it, I think. And this year I did something different. We've added 5 more pages to the annual report, mainly from the from the corrections division, because I got to looking at the previous annual reports and we kind of squeezed a lot into one page for the corrections division. So I've separated that out into some other departments that we'll go over in the next few pages. So there's some pictures of some of our pods that are there. That happens to be F-Pod right there. It shows the work that we've done over the last couple years of cleanliness. You can see the shine on the floor. We've repainted, we pulled up the carpet. Why they put carpet back in the 90s in some of these pods, I don't know. It was dirty, it was matted, it needed to be pulled out. And then we put like a garage floor coating and stuff. So those are the type of things that we've been doing over the winter projects for the work crew. So now we're at the point where we can maintain it by going in and touching up paint, touching up some of the flooring and stuff like that. And then some of the bigger maintenance issues that we're addressing with the commissioner's help on the boilers, air handlers, intercom systems and stuff like that through grants and whatever else we can do. So some of the stats, last year, 1,810 bookings of people coming in the facility, but we also released 1,832. So there's a constant turnover of the local inmates that are in there. On average, they stay about 35 days. Of those 1,810 last year, 408 were felonies, 1,402 were misdemeanors. And broken down into the males that were brought in was 1,456, females were 354. So that, again, the average number of stay was 35 days. That are in there. Medical has its own page. We'll go over those stats when we get to medical. Same with kitchen. But the warrants and transports. So prisoner transports are everywhere. We go around the state. We bring people back for court. We take people to prisons. But it's also the day-to-day, 3 or 4 times a day that we're taking people to their court dates in the different various courts, whether it's common pleas 1 or 2 or the municipal courts. They're constantly busy. We have a staffing of 3 in there. We're down 1 right now. But we should be filling that this week. And they did 1,102 prisoner transports. That averages out to about 6.5, a little over 6.5 a day, that those 2 or 3 are constantly providing those services, which is maintenance and fuel mileage as well. The number of out-of-state ones, warrant pickups was 2 last year, which was down from the previous years, but that's not anything we control. It's just whenever somebody that has a warrant in Seneca County, that's at a nationwide level, gets picked up by another agency for something else, then they contact us and say, hey, we have your person, will you come get them? That wasn't being done all the time in the past, but in the last 3 years, I've made the decision that, yes, we will go get them and bring them back to answer for whatever they did here in Seneca County. It does depend on the level of the crime, but if it's nationwide, usually they're entered because it's a felony domestic or it's a felony assault or something like that. So I feel the liability is more on us if we if we say no, and we don't go collect that person, they do something in Colorado or Florida or whatever, I feel that we're responsible, and we don't want that to be put on anybody else or another state. So we need to go get them, let them serve their justice when they come back, get in front of a judge, and then have the hearing that they should have had in the first place. And then for the first year, thanks to the things that have been put into place by us, but also by the commissioners and the county administrator with the raises, with the new contracts and stuff. This is the first year since I've been in office that we have a positive versus a negative on hiring and resignations on the jail side and stuff. So there were 17 new hires and 11 resignations last year. So we're ahead of the game. We're getting to that full status where we can start to address those additional ones that we need for ICE and stuff. But we're on the right track on the pay rate and the morale back there on the cleanliness and the way things are being operated. So the pages that I separate out is the kitchen department is separate from the corrections. They're within the corrections, but they deserve their own page because those 5 ladies really do a lot. They take pride in the cleanliness of the kitchen. They take pride in passing the inspections from the state and the federal. They take pride in serving the over 182,000 meals a year that they provide. And you can see that in the charts here. I've broken the charts down over a 6-year period that goes back and tells you historically basically how many meals that are being put out a day, a month, and over the year, like I said, over 182,000. And those ladies come in, rain, sleet, or shine, basically from 3 in the morning till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and stagger their shifts and stuff so that they're providing 3 meals a day, which we are ordered to do by the Ohio Revised Code. If you have somebody in the jail, they have to be provided 3 meals a day. We do state dietitian, so the caloric intake is what the state requires them to do, but she still manages to do it. Robin, who is the kitchen supervisor, manages to keep that budget down there. And for example, last year, per meal, it's $1.89. And if you look back, that's less than what it was the year before. So she does a really good job in ordering locally, but also looking at what we can do for savings. We still got a little bit of flux with the supply chain command issues with ordering stuff. Sometimes you don't get what you want or you get a substitute item, but she still manages to push that out. And we don't get zero complaints, which is unusual. We hear from the inspectors when it comes to medical and kitchen. Those are their number 1 and 2 complaints the inspectors usually get, because they meet anonymously with the jail inmates, and they talk to them for an hour at a time, and they can tell them whatever they want. They can ask them whatever questions they want. The inmates are free to answer, and they are surprised and pleasantly surprised when they have their exit interview. They're there for the whole week. They tell us at the end of the exit interview, whatever you're doing in your kitchen and medical, you're doing right, because those are usually the number 1 and number 2 interchangeably complaints that we get when we do inspections. We hate the food, it tastes like cardboard, the medical staff don't know what they're doing, or we're not getting help, we're not getting, what we want, we're not getting seen or anything like that. So by paying attention to those individual departments and giving them the tools, I think that we're way ahead of the liability game, and that's one of the reasons why I ran, is to make sure that we lessen the liabilities. The next page is medical department, and you can see the technology increases that we've done. We've actually done some TLC inside the actual medical area itself, new carpeting, new paint, some new desking units and stuff. Paid for all that out of the FOJ fund, so it wasn't out of our budget. And their stats are pretty high. This is an ORC requirement that we give medical attention. That's the thing that mainly is inspected, usually for the federal and on the state level. When they come in, are they being seen within their 24-hour period of time for certain things, 7-day period of times, 14-day period of times, and they have to fit within that. Happy to say that we're passing that. 1,180 nurse sick calls. That's a 98 average per month. That's 25 a week. The doctor comes in 1 day a week, a couple hours. It is required. We do have a separate contract with him to see the chronic illness ones that he has to physically see. So he's physically seeing over that last year period 552 people. He averages 46 a month, 11 per week. Medication, these are the prescription medications, not over-the-counter sick call stuff, but just the prescription order stuff is 2,340. That's 195 a month and 6.5 a day. We had 187 pregnancy tests. Every female that comes into our facility is required to take a pregnancy test, and we had 6 positives. And so we deal with that right away, because we want to make sure that they get the help and the natal care that they do. Some of them don't even know. that they were pregnant. So it's a surprise to them as it is to us, so. Another area that I gave separate attention to, actually 2 pages worth, is mental health. I know I've talked about that in the past. We're actually looking at somehow to improve our mental health stuff in our region through a regional study that we're involved in. And whether we go down that route or whether we try to do something on our own, I just wanted to give the statistics and break them out of just a little chart that used to be attached to the corrections area. So Grace Moorhart is our case manager. She's on a grant that's ending at the end of September, but the Mental Health Board, Murchow in particular, has met with us. He's seen the numbers, we've given him the data, and he believes that it is such a need in Seneca County and in our jail facility that he's extended that through June of next year by giving us local money from grants that he's issued to us to be able to extend that out for another year. So some of the stats that we've collected from 2021 till 2023 is listed below here. The big things I'll point out is that the reason that there's NA in a lot of them is some of these services just were not provided. We didn't have the money or the time or the licensed people to be able to provide some of these services. Why it's important. I estimate probably in any jail or prison, probably 80% of your population is dealing with something mental. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're suicidal, that they're homicidal, schizophrenic. There are some of those in our facility right now in 10-minute watches, and those are the ones that get the most attention. So when we have to call somebody in, they're focusing on those people. But think about this, if you were put into jail, and even, say it's before your sentence, before you even have your court trial, or even after your court trial, and say you're sentenced to 30 days, 60, 90, or whatever. Either one of those scenarios, that would send you into a high-speed wobble, I think, because now your life has been upended. You don't know if you're going to lose your loved ones, your spouse, your family. You don't know if you're going to lose your job, your income, and so you start to get depressed, you start to get anxious. So I'm thinking, at least 100% of the people are like that in jail right now. So how that portrays itself, it comes out in little activities like when you're out in the day room and you're playing cards or you're watching TV and they don't turn the channel to what you want to hear, or it's too loud, or you're trying to read a book or whatever. So then you get those little microaggression things, and then it turns into assaults and the fights, and the staff has to get involved and go hands-on and stuff. So when they're not being seen or even talked to or assessed for these things, that's what causes the problems. One of the things that we've been doing differently at least in the last year, since July of last year, when we were able to get another grant from the Mental Health Board, and thanks to Murchow again, is that we have 40 hours dedicated through this grant. 32 hours of it is a case manager with the licensing next to her name to be actually talk to these people and what we call jail adjustments. They weren't able to get to them in the past, to get down to the people that might have been 20th on the list, that Mr. Franker wants to talk to somebody about his case and how it's upsetting him and stuff. Well, he's not going to get as much attention as the person that's trying to kill themselves over here in a paper gown and needs to see somebody immediately. So what we've done is partnered with the Mental Health Board, and they've given us that 32-hour person plus a licensed therapist 1 day a week on Thursday when she's not here. She's here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The licensed therapist is here on Thursday. She refers people to the licensed therapist, and that licensed therapist there for 8 hours can see people. So 40 hours total a week that we didn't have in the past, started in July, so you're starting to see some of the benefit of those numbers here. 860 males seen last year and 288 females seen last year. And so you can see the increase from 2021 and why I feel that is beneficial. Another partnership and collaboration project we did with the Mental Health Board and NAMI, who used to control or was part of the Mobile Crisis Response Team. MCRT is the acronym, is now Connections Recovery Services, separated from NAMI, and it's its own organization. We started that in July of last year as well, and what it is a team of 3 people, civilians, that are licensed to actually go and talk to people in crisis situations. Now, our officers are CIT qualified. They've gotten classes on de-escalation, but that is not in our wheelhouse. We are supposed to just be dealing with the criminal matters and responding to emergencies and stuff like that. But a mental health break is an emergency. When you're wanting to kill yourself or others, or you're just depressed at home, and then your family calls for help or whatever, we end up being the frontline people that are going there. So in this partnership, what we hope for and what we can see in the numbers has happened is that last July, this team went active. And so we've housed them inside the lobby area. There's an office off to the side. And so they are out at the sheriff's office for all of Seneca County, whether it's in the county or the cities or the villages, they will come out. So somebody that's under duress or has a critical incident calls 911 like they normally do all the time. And it ties up our 911 system. And then we send a deputy out there. Then it ties up the deputy for an hour or two. And we may or may not have to take that person into custody against their will or with their will to take them to the hospital to be evaluated. This all takes time and manpower. So what MCRT does is steps into the void there. So we can call them to that scene. And then they do a quick assessment and say, okay, you guys can leave. We'll handle it from here. And they get either a voluntary commitment of that person going with them to the hospital to be evaluated, or they evaluate them themselves and take them directly to a substance abuse place or a facility that will house that person. It might be in Maumee, might be in Lorraine or whatever. What that does for law enforcement is tremendous. It takes that burden off of us. And we can already see the repeat callers are now calling MCRT. They're giving them their cards and saying, hey, if you have issues in the future, call us. You know, and so again, that's a partnership through MHRSB, the Mental Health Board, and MCRT that got together, collaborated with us, and we said there's a need for this in our county. And they're doing it not in our county, only in our county, but in other counties as well. But that team is strictly just for Seneca County, so they don't go respond outside of our county. And the problem right now is that their only hours are only 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And so it was supposed to start next month, but I think it's not going to start till September or October due to staffing issues. They're going to extend those hours from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So there'll be 2 teams doing that, which is going to be beneficial. Obviously, there's going to be times outside of those times, but the way our charts are showing. So you can see the numbers, the actual response time is 21 minutes. Which is very good for 552 geographical square miles and stuff. And again, 33 out of the 48 crisis calls that we went on, us, law enforcement, 33 times we were able to leave and just leave it to them to continue on. They'll call us back if it gets violent or something, but they're doing yeoman's work out there for the mental health community, and it's taking that burden off of us. It's taking that liability off of the law enforcement. The last thing under the corrections is community work crew. The community work crew has its own page because they do a lot for Seneca County, and I want to give them recognition for that. Under the direction and supervision of Deputy Greg Smith, who's a retired police chief from Macomb, so it was a good catch for us to bring him in. In 2023, we had a total of 302 inmate work crew applications. Now, not all 302 of those are eligible to work. So there is a screening process. You can't be a felon, can't be a high misdemeanor with assaults or escapes or anything like that. So we look at the past, we screen people out, and out of that 302, 157 were accepted. Of that 114 were just for kitchen work. So those kitchen ladies aren't the only ones in there. They need people to help clean, do the dishes, prepare the meals, and stuff like that. So 114 are strictly just for kitchen. That's the top priority. The last part of that, the 43, those were for the outside work crew. Those are what you see from April to October around the court buildings, around the commissioner's building, our jail out there, in the villages, in the townships, at the fair, working for the election board, the city parks, helping out at cross-country events. Anything that's a 501c charity or anything that's a governmental agency, we can legally do. We can't do private entities and stuff for people. But they're constantly busy. In 2023, they worked a total of 237 out of the 365 days for a total of 4,975 hours for the whole year. That's little over 19 and a half days per month and 414 hours per month that they're working. So, important thing to notice for them is not all of them. Actually, the vast majority do not get good time doing that. That's a common misconception. I thought it when I first came in. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Shave off some of your time. Not all the judges get good time, but the inmates still do it. They get a benefit because they get to get out into the fresh air, not have to sit in their cell all day. So some of them are doing it for the general public service of it and to be out in the fresh air and stuff like that. So kudos to the inmates that we do accept, and they go out there and work those long hours for the townships, either crack sealing or at the fair all week in the heat, collecting the garbage and stuff like that. So the enforcement stats are the last division, Captain Hesh. There's some photos of more community activities that we're involved in. Again, I talked about 16,000, how am I doing on time, Barb?
You're good.
Okay, 16,540 calls for service that we had last year. You can look at traffic crashes, which is something that I want to bring up. So our traffic crashes are again high. We decided 3 years ago that we're going to handle as many as we can of ourselves. So we're almost at 1,000, 910 traffic crashes. So it's going up from the couple hundred that they used to do prior to 2021. But one thing that I separated last year was our deer crashes. We had a lot of our own deputies hitting deers, as Barb knows, but it got into my radar because of that, but also in just seeing and hearing on the radio, all the deer crashes. We just had one 2 weeks ago where a motorcyclist hit a deer. I mean, I can't imagine hitting one in a car or a truck, but being on your motorcycle hitting something at 55 miles. He had to be life flighted, but it wasn't a fatality, fortunately, but there's going to be a lot of recovery there. So in looking at the stats, I found that just collecting the traffic stat data doesn't pull out the deer stats. We write it in the comment line, so I had to go back to the beginning of the year, have an intern and a dispatcher work on midnights for it, and we have now separated out our deer crashes and our traffic crashes. I have it separate in the deer, or in the township reports, but I did not do it overall here, but I do know off the top of my head that almost half of those 910 traffic crashes are deer crashes. If you looked at my monthly reports on the Facebook, you'll see that I do have it separated as of August of last year. And as you get into I've learned more about deer than I ever wanted to know. I'm not a hunter, but I do know the running season is October through December, and we had about 70 to 75 a month out in Seneca County of that. Of the crashes. And even prior to that, and just last month when I put Maystats up, we had 31. So that's a lot. So what I'm going to do with these stats, because stats are good, but if you don't use them, then they're good to review, is get with ODNR, Brock, our ODNR person, and see if we can do what Wyandotte did a year or two ago. What I was told was they were able to up their bag limit to help cull the herd so that we don't have as many accidents. We're not having as many injuries. We're not having as many insurance claims and stuff like that. So by showing them the stats, I think that should be proof enough that we should get at least an extra tag or two for the hunters that this coming season and stuff to help curb some of that. Anecdotally, because I've been going to the township and it's getting late at night, I've almost been in 3 or 4 accidents myself, Barb. But I keep my head on a swivel out there because I have knowledge of how many accidents we have in Seneca County. And the next thing is to plot them out and see where our worst spots are and stuff through the GEO program. But I have seen them in the middle of the roads and everything, and it just seems that it's been more and more each year. So I will at some point get an intern to go back to the previous years and see if it's been an increase or where we at.
Well, that area where you're at, there's a extremely high number of deer out there, because I know there's a few farmers that won't let anyone get their land.
There are some sanctuaries around, like St. Francis and other stuff like that.
That's where they all come in.
And they know too. They do know where to retreat to at night and stuff like that. So, or the daytime and stuff. So if you want to just look through the list, I'll kind of power through this because those are just statistics. Almost all of them you can see are high volumes and stuff. Although I did do a comparison, and we are less on arrests, we are less on calls for service by about 800, but the public assistance calls are up. The crimes are down. So that's the good thing I've been telling the townships. Yes, you'll see that over the 3 years, all the township calls have increased, but that's because of the work that I've done with the commissioners and the administrator on getting more deputies to get out there and do the proactive stuff. So the crime stats have gone down, but the public assistance, the quality for life stuff has gone up, where they're now calling us for things that they just said, well, every time I call, there's nobody available because they're low manning or whatever. So you're going to see some of that in the township statistics, and you can see that in some of the lower burglary statistics and the lower disorderly theft offenses and stuff like that. Theft offenses particularly went down by 85 and stuff like that. So again, a side product of more visibility and more help with the quality of life and being seen out in the townships and the corners of our county is that criminals see that too, and then they're less likely to do something, because they're like, oh, they got a lot of activity that's going on. Hand in hand with the arrest stats, I told you the total for 2023 was 535. If you look at that next page down at the bottom, I know you can't see it too well there, and you probably don't have it in the statistic sheets I have in here, but one of the requirements that you're supposed to do for the FBI and for your own internal standards is to keep track of those use of force / response to aggression statistics. And so there was no prior ones prior to 2021, so I only have 3 years worth of stats. And so in 2023, like I said, we have 535 stats. And there's a form that they fill out. It's a full-page form, and it's the deputy's name, who assisted the deputy, who the suspect was the suspect injured, was the deputy injured, what type of force was used, or response to their aggression was used, what did the suspect use against you. It's all data-driven and stuff, and then I collate that, and I collect it, and I present it into this report every year. It's not only for you, but it's for us. It's really to put your eyes on to see, is there any red flags there? Are we using too much, or is a single deputy using too much response? Well, I'm happy to say that we had 16 incidences out of the 535. So if you do the math and you divide the 16 by the 535, that's 0.029, which equates to 2.9% of all those 535 arrests resulted in a deputy having to respond to a suspect's aggression. And that aggression could be just that they're being verbal and giving them physical cues, tensing up that they're going to fight them, that they laid hands on to the deputy, that they had an armed history of violence, that they pulled away from the deputy when they went to arrest them, they pushed the deputy, they struggled with the deputy, they assaulted the deputy, or they struck the deputy with their hands or their legs. The deputy has to list, did they point a weapon, did they do pain compliance, did they wrestle with the individual, did they show their taser, did they use their taser, did they use an impact weapon, did they use chemical weapons, did they discharge a firearm, and any canine bites, which we don't have a canine, but if we call a canine to the scene. So of all that stuff, I'm happy to report, there's really, it shows time of date, day of the year, day of the week, all that stuff, but there really is no pattern because they're so low of a number, 16, and it's kind of spread across the board. We did have 2 deputies that were injured during arrest procedures, but no suspects, and then it's broken down also into a male and female and what their races are, and juvenile male and female, what their races are and stuff. So I don't see any patterns. You can look at the data yourself to justify anything. What I do see is that due to the low percentage and everything, that it is a reflection, a direct reflection of the training that all the deputies are required to have in de-escalation techniques, so they don't have to do response to aggression. Their critical incident training and the overall supervision by that form itself. That form just doesn't go to the direct supervisor. The direct supervisor has to read through it, read the report, does it match up with the policy and procedure? Were they allowed to point their weapon because it was a felony or armed history, or the person is holding a weapon back at you? If not, then you put no, and then it goes to the next person in the chain of command, which is the direct division commander. Then it goes to the chief deputy, then it goes to me. So there's 4 sign-offs to make sure that everything is being followed within policy and procedure. And again, that's liability reasons and stuff. So under the enforcement division also is the detective bureau. They're a little overwhelmed right now, so one of our goals is to also try to get another detective. But some of the highlights of their cases are reflected on this page as well. They're still wrapping up some of the 2021 and 2022 cases as they went into 2023. So 7 cases were closed in 2023 from 2021. 3 of those were sex crimes, 1 was a B&E, 2 were wire frauds, and 1 theft. In 2022, 6 cases were closed in 2023, 2 were sex crimes, 1 was a juvenile with suspicious injuries, 1 was a motor vehicle theft, 1 was a theft, and 1 is an overdose death. In 2023, there was 24 indictments, 16 cases were presented to the county prosecutor, 17 search warrants, 8 scenes were processed, and 5 vehicles were processed. 134 forms were pulled for Project Lifesaver. What this means is that, number one, we're understaffed, but there's also a process. It's not like going to Mr. Frankert's farm, taking a report because he had something stolen off of his farm, and then filing that report, doing a little bit of looking around, maybe he has some cameras, maybe we're doing some follow-up or whatever. Usually the cases that the detective bureau get are the long-term investigations that requires finding people, tracking them down, doing interviews, going through attorneys, setting court dates and stuff like that if you do go to a grand jury and indict them, putting those packets together. So that's why these cases take time. And then the more those cases that are pending, the more the ones they have to investigate, the farther they get behind on when a new case comes in, which they have to then deal with the new case, then go back when they can to the older cases and stuff. So they're doing the best that they can do. And then just for 2023, they were able to close out 3 overdose death cases, 12 sex crimes out of the 25, so 13 are still open. They had 1 robbery case that was turned over to the FBI. Breaking and entering, we had 1 case that was closed, 1 jail incident investigation case that was closed. Had some motor vehicle thefts, they had some assaults, they had some assist other jurisdictions, had a toddler death of natural causes case last year, accidental serious injury to a juvenile case last year, accidental death outside a fire case last year, a theft, 7 cases last year, conveyance into jail. So when anybody comes in, we search them through the machine scan or whatever, if they have a foreign substance in them that's illegal to bring into the jail, they get charged. So they're responsible for dealing with those. We had 4 of those cases, 2 are closed, 2 are still open. Child exploitations, we had 7 of those cases. Child abuses and domestics and possession of drug cases. And then our sex offender stats, 28 new sex offenders registered in Seneca County last year. The verifications, 448. So what that means is our deputies that are in charge of that thing go check. They make sure through physical checks and phone checks and other investigative methods that we use, if a registered sex offender is living where they say that they're living, required by law. Are they registering in Seneca County but living in Hancock County? That's against the law. So all that stuff is checked. So 448 of those verification checks of the sex offenders that are on our list in Seneca County. And for anybody that doesn't understand the tier levels or anything like that, you can get it from our app. You can see who lives around you, but there is a definition page that breaks it down on what the tiers are, what each tier has to do to register, when they can get off the list, if they can ever get off the list, and what they're required to do during that time period and stuff. So it's all there for your convenience as well. The last thing, Barb, if I may, because I'll power through this, is communications and dispatch, which falls under enforcement as well. Before we get into township stuff, which we won't. Communications and dispatch are required because we have a PSAP. We are at current strength as of last year, so most of last year was under strength, but they still power through, as you can see through the stats that are on your sheet and the stats that are overhead here. They had 8,183 911 calls that came into our agency. 32,369 were non-emergency phone calls. Those are people just calling up, wanting to get a hold of the jail. They don't even sometimes use the automated menu system, or they just have generic questions that the dispatchers are trained and told, we are going to help as many people as we can. So no longer are they allowed to say, and this has been 3 years now, that's something we don't do, or we can't help you with that, or whatever. That we have a text entry that we can look up information for people. We have the web available to us, so if we do get people calling up wanting to know what the job of family services hours, and so we don't just say go look on the web yourself. We can pull it up and give it to them if we have time, if there's not emergency stuff. But we do have text entry that can get somebody the help for maybe they have an injured hawk in their yard. You know, what do I do about that? Well, here's ODNR's number, or here's this wildlife group that can help you, or whatever. So we're doing our best to be more professional, as our mission statement says, to help people, even with non-criminal matters when they call into dispatch and stuff. Out of those 911 calls and non-emergency calls, 5,664 were police-related, 2,616 were either fire and EMS related. And you can again see 11-year total of our calls for services, which on the next page is broken down into the hours of the day, days of the week, months, quarterly, and our history of efforts for 2023 and how we break up all those calls. The next page is your 11-year comparison stats for just some accidents, traffic citations, verbal warnings, calls for services over that time as well. And then it breaks into probably about 15 pages of all the townships. The only thing I'll say about the township page and this is no different than the last couple of years if you look at the annual reports, is that bar chart, color chart in the bottom with the blue, red, green. I know you can't see it too well from here, but if you have time to get on the web, you can see it. What I did was I took now 3 years worth of data for the townships, and they weren't getting the data before, and showing each of the townships the bang for their buck, what we do for them. And this whole annual report is the bang for the buck to the commissioners, the administrator, and the community at large of what the sheriff's office is providing service-wise and how we record each of the things. So you can see on the green line, that's 2023. We've increased our calls by pushing the deputies out into the townships, being visible in those postage stamp upper corners, lower corners that they weren't able to get to before because of low manpower. And again, I emphasize to them that this isn't about crime going up. This is about quality of life and proactive activity that's happening in your townships. When a deputy handles something in your townships, then that's why they pull the form. Just because they drive through your township, we're not pulling a form for that. So for example, on Adams Township, you can at least tell the residents, is what I tell the township, that we were there 434 times. You know, in Venice Township, we were there 443 times. So when you hear that from your residents, I never see a deputy or anything, which I'm not hearing. I'm actually hearing the opposite now. They are being seen out there and visible. So you can see that those have increased, and just for last year, 59% of our calls for service were in the townships. That's that blue part of the pie down there. And then the next 15 pages, like I said, are just township pages. If you go to 46, Barb, those go through all the townships, and again, I'll be getting to the rest, the other 9 townships I haven't gotten to in the month of July. They all seem to have their meetings on the same dates and times, so it takes me time to get out there. So go one more, sorry, back to page 41. These are individual awards throughout the year of 2023, Deputy of the Year, Correction Officer of the Year, Civilian of the Year, and Dispatcher of the Year. These are voted on not by me and my command staff. These are voted on by their peers. So they get a form, and they have to list down bullet points, and they have to look at our mission statement, look at our core values, and do these individuals, or whoever you're voting for, highlight those qualities in our mission statement, vision statement, and everything. And then they have to give me some bullet points. I don't want to just put down Tony Paradiso's name as Civilian of the Year or something like that, because I want to be able to then take those bullet points, put them on their certificate, and say, these are what your peers said about you. And I usually get a half a dozen on each of the candidates that come in. So these are the 4 that were selected by their peers for 2023. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and this is our 4th year actually doing it. Sorry, we did one for 2021, for 2020, and then started the recognition program. And the next couple pages are the same thing. Our individual awards, either you've been here 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, we recognize that with a gold star. And then we have this TVs throughout in our training rooms, in our briefing rooms, in our conference rooms, and patrol room, and we cycle through a program, training, notices, bulletins, positive sayings, awards, anniversary dates, work anniversary dates and stuff like that. We've had some individual awards of safe driving awards, life-saving awards, commendation awards, community service awards, certificate of merits. You can read what their qualifications are and who got each one of those. And then if you were in the military, you get a military service award. So I want to be respectful of your time. I know I probably went over the 30 minutes or so. If you have any questions or concerns, you can read the rest of it. The last thing is, the last page is some highlights that we went through. I'm very happy on where we're at in 3.5 years. I also want to thank the community, the commissioners, everybody that supported us out there at the Sheriff's Office over these last 3.5 years. It goes to show, I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, because I did run for re-election. I ran unopposed, so as long as I vote for myself in November, you'll see me again for 4 years. And I think that that's a positive thing, that the community said, you know what, we like what you're doing, keep it up. And then the last page is actually our sheriff app. Not enough people have that. So you get notifications from me, not all the time, when we have severe weather, especially during the blizzards and the stuff like that. So that's the weather alerts are on there. But it does give you some other divisions. It gives you our annual report on there. It gives you the sex offender statistics, and you can search and you can see who to contact. You can make a complaint. You can make a commendation. You can also give us tips. I get a lot of tips on there, anonymous tips. Usually I get them from the cities, and I just forward them to the chiefs of police or whatever, but it is free, it is available on Android and on the iPhone. Questions or concerns for me from the commissioners?
Good report.
Thank you, sir.
All three of us take a deep breath.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
I had a little bit of caffeine this morning.
That was good.
A lot of stats, a lot of numbers, but if you have problems sleeping, download it, read it on your tablet, you'll fall asleep really quick.
So, is this proprietary, a lot of this information, these reports?
No, this is public information.
No, I mean the templates for the reports. Did you create these?
I did create this, and so I'm using the same.
Internally? So this is
when I- when-
like the Fraternal Order or the Sheriff's Association?
No, this is my own. So
Created.
we're required to give you an annual report.
Yeah.
How we give it, it could just be a couple pages like this. I could have just handed you this, selected stats or whatever. And I think that's what kind of was being done in the past. But I like to go into more detail to show the bang for the buck. I like to tell you exactly what the employees and staff and myself are doing out there as part of the transparency and accountability of government agencies that we should be doing, because I recognize the volume and the amount of money that is in our budget, and then what are you getting for those services? And I also recognize that law enforcement, criminal justice, the jail is not supposed to be a money-making venture, because you can get into trouble with the state government and federal government if you're trying to pay, charge too much for services or write too many tickets, you're not giving any warnings and stuff. So this is the checks and balances that I see on myself and on my office, to the community at large, to the commissioners and the county administrator, of what are we doing to manage that budget? How effectively are we being, and what are you getting for that service back in return on the calls for service, the township stats, and the maintenance of vehicles and stuff like that? What are we using all that stuff for? So I created this back in 2021, and so now I just changed the pictures. I kind of keep it in the same format so it's easy to read each year, and you can find each stuff kind of on the same pages. As I'm learning the job better, I'm breaking it out into more pages, like I did with the corrections, and giving kitchen and work crew and mental health and medical their own pages. So you may see some additional pages next year, but it's going to follow the same format. The wording will change, the stat numbers will change, and maybe some of the pictures will change on the moving pieces, but it's going to be in the same format. Yeah.
I did pick one thing out. I see that like Pleasant Township, the township you live in, is double of most of the townships, Tony, so
Yeah.
what's going on out there?
I did talk to them last night, and they brought that up as well. And that's when I brought up the quality of life stuff. I said, I feel honestly that people are now utilizing us more. They're not getting the call, well, we don't have anybody available because the 2 deputies are tied up now, and it might be 2 hours to get to, well, then forget it. And then they hang up and no form is pulled. So now they're getting those services, right? So I think the public, after 3.5 years, are seeing that we are getting a response. There is some proactivity going on. I believe you told me you saw a deputy sitting at Sycamore and 224 at the end of the road. He goes, I rarely ever seen one before. And that is a bad intersection. They're being able to do things that they weren't able to do before, which will be a reflection in the stats. We may have some lower accident stats next year and stuff. So, yes, good eye on that. Yeah.
So all your people are trained to put these stats in, or do you pull?
No.
Somebody takes the reports.
So the program.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
getting
so Pro Phoenix is, they've been using that since 2012. The whole county uses it. So you can pull those statistics out of that. It's not the easiest thing, because then the reports don't actually fit into my thing. So I just take the numbers and I put them into here in the reports. But I can go in and pull out Jackson Township statistics, Adams Township statistics, Pleasant Township, put in the date range. So I can do it by day, by month, by year.
I guess that's what I was asking.
Yeah, yes. So they're put in by the dispatchers. When we get a call on the phone and Tony calls up and says, hey, somebody's hunting in my backwoods, so that goes down as either trespassing, suspicious person, or whatever. It goes down into that statistic. The deputies go, they handle the call for service, their times and dates are recorded and everything, so that's how you can get average times to and from locations. And how many volumes of calls, because it starts 1 second after midnight on January 1st till 11:59 p.m. on December 31st. The number resets to 1, and then it goes to the end of the year, 16,540 or whatever. And then as you arrest people, those go down into our statistics. And so I just got to take all that and then we put it into this format right here. But those charts and those stuff like that are straight out of some of those reports and stuff like that. Do a screen capture, copy, paste, and manage it all together in PDF, so, yeah.
Very good. Excellent report.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed too, it seems like the relationships and the communications have really improved last couple of years among City of Tifton, City of Fall Story, the sheriff working together, communicating, because it wasn't always that way. Because I remember when there was little fortresses or walls put up.
You'll see that in the message from me and also in the highlights. We've done a lot collaboration-wise, the chiefs of police, myself, other organizations and stuff, being involved more in the community activities, parades, festivals, other activities, ribbon cuttings, trying to get to as much of that stuff, being seen, being present in uniform, coming to the meetings and stuff, going to township meetings, village meetings, just to be seen and be present helps a lot, because a lot of times you hear from those residents or you hear from the township or the village administrators or council people, stuff that they forget to call you or talk to you about. It's minor, but then I don't want it to be minor. I want you to let me know so it doesn't build up and say, why aren't we being held by the sheriff's office or whatever. So collaboration and that, I guess, that working relationship is very important to where we're at right now, 3.5 years in this term, but with the other agencies getting new chiefs as well, we kind of came in fairly on the same time, and we're working really well together, and it's being seen out in the community.
People are
We're collaborating with groups. I mean, we have a county drone team, we have a county SRQ team. We're working in trying to establish those things so that we have a deeper pool to choose from of manpower, but also the resources are shared across 3 agencies versus just one agency having to do all that work.
For sure. So makes you guys more approachable.
And these are permanent, by the way, when you talked about records. Your annual report is supposed to stay forever, so that's why it's up on the web, and that's why we keep these in a file, so that 10 years from now, you can go back and look at the 2023 report if you needed to, or anything like that. Once it's made, it has to be a permanent record in the records retention and stuff, so.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else? Besides, got his camera all locked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I grab a quick
with
picture, you
us?
holding up your
Oh.
your little thing, or if you wanted to go stand by them?
Sure.
Thanks, guys. Grab you while you're here.
That's why I wore my black today.
Everybody that speaks takes pictures with the commissioners.
I guess we're just. For your speech, you come up, Zach.
Huh?
We're ready for your speech, you ready? Come do a speech, come up with us. Frank.
People love Fred Stevens, I know that. Social media loves him.
Alright, 3, 2, 1. And then 3, 2, 1. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Your own personal copy.
Wow.
Did you sign that for her? So you can sneak out, you're good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Appreciate you guys. Stay cool today.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
And tomorrow.
Yes,
Flash drives look good.
Everything's ordered out there with you, right? So-
yes, as far as I know.
Everything's.
The only negative thing I heard today is the bid thing, but I think we'll just talk and try to rebid it and get it on their timeline, and I'll just have to tell the government it is what it is. So, if they want it, if they want to pay for it and they want it, then they're just gonna have to wait, so.
It's not like we're not trying.
Right, right.
Yeah, we got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Thanks.
Commissioner reports.
No report this time, Commissioner.
Last Friday was over to Fremont at the Hay Center. They had the Erie Basin, our meeting we have every couple months and stuff on that. Did a nice tour around, Hayes, good refreshing. It's been quite a while since it's been there, so that was nice. Yeah, right, exactly. So Monday, we was here for the Bethville for the building upgrade for the bid review. Met with a couple of the folks that, I bid on, make sure everybody was good, and then kind of proceed from that point with it. Tuesday, we had investment committee meeting. Things are, looking pretty good with our interest rates and stuff on our funds that we have set aside, so that brings up the thing. Yeah, knock on wood.
We had a busy day with EMS yesterday. or
Tuesday.
Operationally. We met with the volunteers. I thought that was a great meeting. We continue to try to work with the volunteers and the paid people to provide the services. Chris, Chief Director Haithlick, is doing a great job, and Communication Barb, I think, give you some kudos too, because things seem to be coming together as we get traction. It's great. We met a little bit with the, and discussed some of our grants and state of Ohio capital budget, one-time budget, one-time capital funds. We'll have, that'll all be finalized, I believe, in 6 days, right? At the last session, we had some internal meetings. And so we'll be able to report out the final projects that were awarded from Fostoria to Tiff and all Seneca County. Had a little briefing today, but it's still a little secret till it passes, till it's finalized. So that's that.
I do want to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Something that's been brought up, fortunate enough that our Attica Independent Fair and our county fair on a separate.
On a separate note.
No, yeah, they each got about $106,000 grant, so I think that's great.
That's
for
pretty
those
good.
guys
Yeah.
to do that. So there's kind of.
That's a separate bill. That's
Yeah.
a
Separate,
That
yeah.
definitely needs to be.
Yeah, because they're doing some upgrades. I mean, it got tucked in with the state fair, got some, probably the largest because of the state fair, but they also sprinkled out for the rest of the counties who submitted application stuff on that. Some went for the, I don't remember what the number was, and then some didn't quite go for it, but those who went for the more, they ended up with getting a little extra.
What's the
So-
total for the state? Was it
10 million.
10 million?
10,
I think
yeah.
it was $10 million.
So the governor's loves fairs. He makes sure that it gets taken care of, and yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yep. So it's fantastic.
That's huge for them. Okay, any old business? Kind of a short, it's good, right? All right, new business, up apps.
Well, can I do my report first?
Well, let's skip you. Why do I do
I
that?
don't know.
This is tough
But it's
all the
okay.
time. Yeah.
It's okay.
Right, yeah.
Bill stole some of my thunder there with the fair.
Oh, sorry about
That's
that.
okay. No, that's okay. I do just want to remind you that the National Field event, Field Day event with the Seneca Radio Club will occur this weekend at Meadowbrook, the 22nd and the 23rd.
That's Saturday, right? Saturday.
Yeah. I do have some financial information as well. We did get sales tax. So sales tax collected in June would be for receipts mostly for April, which was when the eclipse occurred. We had sales tax at $980,821.61 that was collected. Even with the eclipse, that's down from the previous year, almost $69,000. So, but it went up $108,000 from the previous month. So we're a little shy of where we should be for the year, but about 3% down. So it's not, I mean, it's not something that can't be overcome, but we don't know where that's going to happen. And then also starting July 30th till I believe it's August 8th or the 10th, there is no sales tax collected
Yeah,
on.
we extend that.
Yes.
It's a 10-day period of time now, so 10 or 12 days. So it used to be a 3-day weekend. It used to be like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, first weekend of August, and now they've extended it. But we're supposed to, according to legislation, we're supposed to get some of that back from the state. So I don't know how that calculation's all gonna work out and what we'll see out of that, but we probably will not,
It's not all.
we're not gonna see any of that probably till, even the reimbursement from the state till probably October.
Okay.
So,
3% of 12 million is a lot of money, 360,000. So for, our budget's 12 million for sales tax.
yeah,
We're 3% behind through April, trending, right?
yeah.
And if you say, well, we're only 3% behind, Commissioner Kirschner would say,
Those don't go in the same
what
sentence.
does 3% of 12 million
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
belong in the same
Yeah.
sentence or something
Exactly.
like that, But that's real money.
So-
We'll see how we
Yeah,
finish.
I just would, thought I'd bring that up to you that, it's ironic that we had an event and, I mean, we didn't collect what we thought we would.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else we could have done. I mean, they did a
I-
fantastic
yeah.
everybody. I mean, reached all over the
Destination Seneca
country.
County, they
and-
did, they
great.
were,
It just, it and like I say, we don't feel disappointed, but, you know, that everything was thrown at it, I mean, I think there's a lot of other counties that kind of probably suffering.
Correct.
You know, worse than that, but yeah,
Correct.
kudos, yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of anything else they could have thrown at
Nope,
it.
they came up with some out-of-the-box thinking there, so. I also wanted to bring up, since the sheriff, I was gonna talk about it, but the sheriff's gone. We are working, again, to try to get security at the RTA building during tax collection. I haven't heard, I was gonna try to talk to him this afternoon, maybe I'll try to get a hold of him and see what we
Yeah,
can come up with.
that's
Because tax bills have gone out, they are due July 19th, I believe, is the deadline, so, you know, try to see if we can get the security at the RTA building again for that.
Any complaints on the parking? We've kept the parking
No.
spots.
Now it's
So
great.
now it's just getting manpower, right?
Yeah,
Everybody at the building compliments on having a,
yes,
Yeah.
it does help, it helps a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I may change the sign, but
yeah.
those 4 spots are staying.
Yeah, those are.
Especially now collecting sewer.
Oh,
bill-
Yeah,
and I think
people can
it's
run
really
it, you know,
good,
15
yeah.
minutes is
I guess
plenty of
that's
time to
the
do
question.
business in the
Yeah,
building.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
So,
Perfect.
but that's all I have.
Nice job, sorry I missed you.
Okay.
Again. I talk to Barb all the time, I get updated all the time, so I just kind of need to follow the agenda. Okay, back to you.
Okay, new business, supplemental appropriations. I have two, ditch maintenance fund, for license, software license and services for $16,000. This is an update of software for the ditch maintenance. And then the housing revolving loan fund, other admin expense of $7,071. It's for payment to the Fostoria CHIP program, income Seneca County, Ohio admin for March of 2024.
Make a motion, we approve the supplemental appropriations as read.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Franker?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes.
Okay, then I only have a few resolutions. Resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with Mental Health and Recovery Services Board for jail case management services on behalf of the Sheriff's Office.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Franker?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes.
This one, I believe the contract itself will be a digital signature, is what the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board is asking for. So I believe it's been sent to Tony, email. He'll sign digitally, and then it should go to one, or it goes to one of the others after that, and then, but there'll be 3.
Have to sign it.
Yeah, it just automatically goes, so. Resolution
Okay.
accepting the bid and authorizing an agreement with Mid-Ohio Landworks Incorporated for the issue of the Crum Tile and Waterway Project, number 12-316.
So move?
Second?
Roll call.
Commissioner Franker?
Good. Yes.
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes.
And the last resolution I have is authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to accept the bid from KDH Construction LLC for the Bettsville EMS building renovations.
So move.
Second. Just a quick question, I'm trying to remember, I know I wrote it down from last meeting, where were they out of again?
They are out of Helena.
Okay, thank you.
And Barb's on top of this, but we have a grant for this. And so when we get grants and when we start projects, how you get reimbursed, sometimes there's fine print involved. So we're always watching that. That's a positive statement, so the public knows.
Yep,
We're working on that.
yep.
So, good job. Okay, so.
We have a first and a second. Roll
we have
call.
first and second.
Any other discussion?
No?
Commissioner Franker?
That
Yes.
was it.
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Couple housekeeping things I'd like to bring up. So the 4th of July falls on Thursday. And we have a light agenda, maybe that might be a week we schedule. And then I want to bring up the parade on the 6th in Green Springs, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a parade,
Yeah,
which I'll be there.
okay. Yeah, lineups at 2:30.
Two separate things, I didn't want to jump ahead, but
Okay.
what do you guys think about the 4th? That week?
Well, obviously, there's no meeting on Thursday because it's holiday, but it's entirely up to you guys. I mean, I can put it out that we won't have a meeting if that's what you choose. We can do it on Wednesday. I just have to make sure that departments are aware.
You say the agenda's gonna be pretty light, you think?
I can't guarantee anything.
Want to make the call next week?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
decide
I'm
next
good,
week?
I'm around.
I'd
so
say,
either way-
yeah.
Either way, I'm good with, so. Whatever you
Okay,
guys wanna do.
well, let's make the final call next week.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. If, yeah. I'm leaning not to have a meeting Thursday
Okay.
that week, and then we would not meet Fair Week.
Correct.
But we can decide next week.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Good. Parade was in Green Springs, what time then?
2:30 is when it's
2:30.
2:30 starts at 3, yep, 2:30 is lineup there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring my grandkids.
Good, good. And I do want to say Saturday, the Family and Children First Council is having a Kids Day at Edgewater Park from,
Oh,
starting
This Saturday?
This Saturday from like 10 to 1, 2 o'clock or something like that. Yeah, so bounce houses, free swimming, stuff there at the Edgewater Park and free to 11 to, yeah, because they have a walk in the morning, that's what it is, and then 11 to 1 o'clock is, yep, so just want to throw that out there.
Anything else? Any loose ends? We good, John? Anything from you? You good? Public, anybody want to say anything? Okay, so next meeting's Thursday,
yep.
meeting adjourned. Thank you.